know what is what.
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is Night of the Living Dead.
And Twan's over there living in like the 1700s all sepia town.
He's back in the Winnie the Pooh days, dude.
Damn.
He's at the beginning. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Origins.
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 I did read that they're already starting to film a third one.
The third one?
Yeah,
There's a third one.
I know.
I think
Winnie
one was
the Pooh,
one
Blood
was
and
good
Honey
enough.
3, The Rise of Eeyore. Or Eeyore's Return. Ooh, Eeyore's Revenge.
Damn.
Damn. Because he's dead.
Yeah, they fucking ate him. How is he gonna come back?
He's al skeleto, Eeyore. It's a Coco crossover.
Well, I know that they were gonna try to bring in Bambi and
Peter Pan.
Tinkerbell
Mm-hmm.
in the Pooniverse.
The Pooniverse.
Pooniverse. There's another one they're working on.
Bambi, Peter Pan, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, that's the other one. Should we get started?
Pinocchio. Yeah.
You guys ready?
Run it.
I want to talk about it.
You want to?
Yeah, I
Talk it.
do.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
talk about it.
Talk us
Stop.
through.
Tell us.
Talk.
All right, let's get
Hurry up.
started. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Cult of the Living Dead. This week, we are covering the 2023 slasher film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I am your host, The Dale, followed by my co-host, Mr. Saya,
Hello.
and Twan.
What up?
All right, boys. So, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you two have seen this movie already. This was my first viewing.
I have. Yeah, I have seen this movie before.
Saya, have you seen it?
Yeah, this is my second watch through.
Okay. So, were you guys like elevated when you saw it either times?
I was the first time
Same.
What about the second? Sober?
sober.
Yeah.
I was sobes. So this movie was directed by Rice Frake Waterfield. He also directed the sequel. He did another movie called Bloody Mary and Fire NATO. Mr. Waterfield also wrote the movie. The music was done by Andrew Scott Bell. It stars Nikolai Leon as Christopher Robin. He was in another movie called The Killing Tree and Alien Invasion. It was also Maria Taylor playing the character Maria. She was in Dinosaur Prison. Natasha Rose Mills was Jessica. Amber Doig Thorne was Alice. Craig David Doucette was Winnie the Pooh. And Chris Cordell was Piglet. So most of these actors have kind of only done B movies. None of them have really been in anything else that I've seen. I've heard of Fire NATO, surprisingly, and The Killing Tree. But I've never seen any of them.
I've never heard of Fire NATO. That movie sounds like something that we definitely need to cover.
It sounds like a ripoff of Sharknado, like it's trying to capture the Sharknado vibes. All right, first impressions. I guess I'll go first because I've never seen the movie before. So I went into it expecting this movie to be bad. But I try to keep like my expectations like relatively low going into it. I think from now on though, I'm gonna try to stick to just going into like middling expectations. But yeah, I thought this movie was gonna be bad. Like spoiler alert, I'll get into it in detail like later on. I think this movie was bad. This was like not a good movie, but we'll get into detail about it a little more. There's things about this movie that I liked, but for the most part, I thought it was like a poorly crafted film. But yeah, it was a B movie for sure, a B movie slasher. I haven't seen a movie like of this quality in a really long time. What did you think about it, Twan? Your second watch through? What was your impressions? Anything about it change? Because I know when we were discussing going over this, you were positive on this movie going in.
I think I was positive in the sense that like I was excited to hear what you had to say about this movie. um second time around. Yeah, this movie sucked, man. It was but that's why we're doing this, right?
Yeah,
Um
for sure.
it was a movie. I know there's definitely like a, you know, obviously there's a cult following for this movie. There's always going to be those people that enjoy these types of movies. Definitely more enjoyable under the influence of some sort of drug. Um,
Or
yeah,
alcohol, I'm sure.
or alcohol. Yeah, just
Not a
just
sober
not,
watch.
yeah. Unless you're trying to watch it for for the sake of watching it, just to like, I don't know. This is one of those movies that I feel like if you like horror movies and you like B movies, I mean, it's Winnie the Pooh. It already has like a kind of a big name behind it. Just yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was definitely a movie. We'll get into it more, but I didn't enjoy it the second time around.
All right, what about you, Sarah? What was it? How was your reaction first time? I mean, second time, and how does it compare to your first viewing?
Also, want to just, this isn't us telling people that they should do drugs, but this is one of those movies where if you watch it sober, you might be a serial killer. Because this movie's fucking, this was definitely a movie. The first time was cool. Second time watching around was definitely rough. But there's people who actually enjoy movies like this that are kind of made to be like this, and um, it, yeah, it was a choice. We made this choice to watch this movie.
No, yeah, for sure, for sure.
It felt like work. Like this was the first movie
Yeah.
that we
It felt like work.
watched.
It
I
did.
was sitting there like,
Yeah.
damn, I'm on the clock right now. This shit sucks.
That's funny. So like I went into it, like I said, like a little bit more open minded. Like I tried to do the thing that we talked about earlier, like knowing like, okay, this movie is gonna be bad, and like if you go into like thinking that, like it can make it a little bit more enjoyable. But then I couldn't help but think back to last week's episode when we covered El Mariachi, which was made like on a shoestring budget, and like Robert Rodriguez had like no delusions of grandeur. He did not expect that movie to be like well received. He didn't expect it. Like he went out to do it as a passion project and he loved it. But like he wasn't expecting it to be much of anything. I'm sure he figured it'd be more in this realm, in the Winnie the Pooh realm, as opposed to like catapulting his career. And like none of those actors had like any like acting training. Like none of them were like trying to be professionals. And that movie was like successful and far better than this one.
Yeah.
So after covering out Mariachi, I'm like, you know what? The whole like, I mean, I understand trying to make a movie like wanting it to be bad on purpose. Like I feel like you watch Super Troopers and like those type of movies, like they're intentionally campy, like they're hamming it up on purpose.
Yeah.
But after watching El Mariachi and comparing to this one, I'm like, no, just because it's a B movie and you had a poor budget, that's not like a good excuse to like have like a terrible movie. Because we just saw a movie that was made for $7,000 that is like critically acclaimed. So
Yeah.
it's doable. It's doable. It's just you need a good script. You need to have like a compelling story. And I feel like we'll get into it right now as we go through. But I think the thing that hurt this movie the most is the script was like all over the place. There was times where things were happening and like characters were reacting to stuff, and I was like, I wasn't giving any information that this was going on. Like, why is he reacting this way? Like, what's happening? I don't know. I don't know if you guys caught on some of those like kind of like inconsistencies in like the stories like pacing or like the narrative. I felt like it had gaps in it that like I feel like if they just sort of added a little bit, like a line or two or something, you'd be like it would have helped the story a little more. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was good enough that it did get a sequel. So like it wasn't a total bomb by any means.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those like you watch these types of movies because of the type of movie that it is. I think there's definitely they could have made it a lot better than it was. There's a lot that you can play around with, especially with Winnie the Pooh. I feel like they had a good idea. Once we start talking about the movie itself, like the story behind it would like it made sense. It felt like something that could happen. But the execution was just not there. It yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, should we get into it? Or Matt, you got
Dude,
anything to add?
run it. No.
All right. So I'm gonna try and to not shit on the movie as much as we're going through it, just to be for narrative sake for the audience. But because there are some things that I thought this movie did that I did like. So I like
Yeah.
the way the movie opened up, right? So the story of the 100 Acre Woods, and it's kind of narratively shown like there's a narrator, and it's like it's sketched out like a child's book where you're getting the background information about like what happened to Pooh and Co. Like we learned, the typical like origin story. Christopher Robin goes to the 100 Acre Woods. He meets Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, Owl Bunny, and Eeyore. And they talk about like how in this universe they're considered abominations. They're like half man, half animal kind of hybrids. And they kind of hide in the 100 Acre Woods because like the rest of the world wouldn't like understand it. They considered them freaks. But Christopher Robin, being like this loving kid or whatever, had this relationship with them, and that blossomed to like a friendship. And that when Christopher Robin left to college when he grew up, Winnie the Pooh and friends, they weren't able to survive on their own. So during like one really harsh winter, the group came up in order for their survival that they needed to eat Eeyore. So they kill Eeyore, they cook one of their closest friends, and like that breaks them mentally. Like something inside them all dies when that happens because they couldn't live with what they did. So they vow to never speak again, and they vow that they're just going to kill anybody who goes into the 100 Acre Woods, and they kind of become these like monsters that everyone thought that they were. I thought that was cool. I thought that was like, I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Like, this is a nice little spin on the story. Like, that's cool. Like what happens when a child grows up, right? What happens when you see like Calvin and Hobbes and like these other um media properties where like it's a kid's relationship with like these talking animals or whatever, and then they leave. Like what happens like when you're not a kid anymore and you don't have that imagination? And then it's like a dark twist. I thought that was interesting. So I was like going into it, I'm like, oh shit, this might be better than I thought. And then so then it pans out from the narrative of it, and we see Christopher Robin coming back to the 100 Acre Woods. He's with his wife or his fiance, Mary, and he wants her to meet his closest friends. And he's like, I'm telling you, like I'm not crazy. Like I had these friends growing up. Like I want you to meet them. And they go to the 100 Acre Woods, and it looks kind of fucked up. There's a bunch of like broken down cars there. The tree house is kind of unkept. They go inside, and then immediately they're like super scared. Like they just start hiding, like something's wrong. Like you could see in the background, like there's like a little like tombstone for Eeyore. It's not really a tombstone, it's just like two pieces of wood that say it's Eeyore on it, and he's like buried. But here is like where I feel like the problem with the movie is. Like there was no indicator at all given to those characters that they should be fearful for their life. Like they just immediately just get super scared and like start hiding. And I mean, I guess they were correct because when they do try to escape, like Piglet straight's like Rex Mary. Like, he like breaks her neck with what, like a chain, right?
Yeah.
She's like the first death. And then they drag Christopher Robin away. But Christopher Robin's like begging for his life. He's like, I'm sorry, Pooh. I would have never have left. I would have never have left you. At no point during this scene does Christopher Robin ever told that that's why they're killing him. Like, how the fuck did he know that's why they were mad at him? Like, this is never relayed to him. And I was like, okay, this is kind of I was like, this is getting kind of dumb. The kill was cool. The kill of Mary, like the death scenes in this movie were interesting, but this opening scene, like right away, I was just like, "Ooh, it's gonna be one of these movies." I don't know. What did you guys think of the opening?
I think the opening was my favorite part. It like the animation aspect of it.
Yeah, that part was cool.
I think that whole like you said, it it seemed like it was going to be a pretty cool movie. Like, it made sense. The whole eating Eeyore kind of changed them, and like that was crazy. The fact that they were starving because they got so used to Christopher Robin constantly bringing food. They couldn't really fend for themselves after he left. Like it all was like, okay, like I get why, or I get how they turned this into a horror movie or a horror story. But yeah, and then after the animation, when it starts going downhill, I think like this movie peaked in the first 5 minutes, and then just gradually fell off. I thought the setting was pretty cool, like when they're walking into the 100 Acre Woods, and there's that like tree tunnel.
Yeah, the woods look cool.
I mean, it's one of those movies. It's one of those just cheesy, campy movies, and the acting was subpar. I did really enjoy the animation. I think I'm probably gonna say this a couple of times in this podcast, but that was my favorite part of the movie. So I mean, the intro was good. Yeah, I didn't really, I guess, catch that some of the scenes didn't make sense. Like there was no buildup. It was just kind of like we have to be scared for our lives right now. I didn't really notate too much when I was watching this movie. I just wrote that it was cheesy as fuck. But it is what it is, and it could definitely be better. I feel like if this movie, maybe the second one, kind of they get it right, kind of like what happened with Evil Dead. Evil Dead, the first one was super campy, super cheesy, and then they got a little bit bigger budget, and then Evil Dead 2 was essentially just a remake of Evil Dead 1. I'm hoping that the second one is like that. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know.
We'll cover it. We gotta
Yeah.
we gotta cover it. We gotta do a sequel section at some point.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam? What do you think? What do you think of this opening scene?
I thought the opening was kind of cool because they make it definitely a little bit more realistic of like what would happen if you leave your friend out in the forest forever. And also they blended in that like, whenever you go to like nature parks, they're always like, don't feed the animals, because if you feed the animals, like they need to keep on being fed because they forget to like how to hunt and all that stuff. I like that they blended it in, so it does give it like a little bit more realistic point of view, so you can kind of generally understand why. But yeah, that was something I definitely noticed, that there's no character development. It's just you're immediately told like this is how it's going to be, and that's pretty much it. Like it's not really, there wasn't an indicator other than Mary just saying, hey, this is bad, we should get out of here, let's leave. And then Christopher is like, no, we're good, and then all of a sudden he's like, all right, we got to hide. So it kind of just immediately turns on, and that was pretty much it. I wasn't expecting Mary to die within that first like moment, but when she does, it's just kind of just keeps going from there. Man, it was definitely a journey that we take with these characters when they survive, like however, minimal survivors, but it's a wild journey.
That's an interesting point you brought up about like the not feeding the animals. Because I wrote a similar point down where I thought at first when I saw like the cover of it of like what Winnie the Pooh and Piglet look like, I was like, Piglet looks dumb. Like, what, did they give Piglet like tusks so he could look intimidating? But Piglet is a pig, and when pigs go feral pigs grow tusks like pretty quickly. So I don't know if that was an intention of the director or not, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like that's a good like visual indicator that Piglet is like a wild animal now, because wild
Yeah.
pigs start to resemble like more like a boar when they go wild. They start growing hair and they get to touch and stuff.
Interesting.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's pretty cool. So like that was something I thought was interesting, but we didn't touch on like what Winnie the Pooh looks like. But holy fuck, that dude looks like a doofus, dude.
Yeah, he does.
That mask is
Yeah.
something else, man.
Yeah, the design of both of these characters are pretty goofy, and I think Winnie the Pooh does wear like a plaid red shirt and like some overalls, and I read that in the original script, or I guess in general, he couldn't Reese the director couldn't really get too close to the source material that Disney created, because even though Pooh and all of these other characters are now like public domain, the description or the way we think of Pooh is like a Disney trademark still technically, and so he couldn't really get them super close to like how we're all really familiar with seeing them. So he chose to make him look like this like farmer kind of like hillbilly dude.
Backwoods.
Yeah, backwoods guy who's hunting people down. I thought it was a really interesting choice, but yeah, I mean, Google a picture and you'll understand what we're talking about. Like these characters definitely do not look like immediately scary. They look more goofy, if anything.
Yeah, they look like they're just wearing masks. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're just people wearing masks.
Yeah, they
They're
look
not
like.
even like, it's not even Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. It's literally just if you can imagine like a movie about a couple of serial killers wearing a yellow
Big
bear
mask
mask and a
and
pig
a yellow
mask,
bear
then
mask.
that's pretty much this movie.
Yeah.
I guess I should have said this in the beginning to provide some context. But so what allowed this movie to be made is that in the U.S. the original book of Winnie the Pooh went into public domain January 1st, 2022, and in 1966 Disney bought the rights of Winnie the Pooh. So that's like the Winnie the Pooh that we know with him just wearing like a red shirt. That's the Winnie. They couldn't use that or like those designs of Piglet or whatever. So they based it off the book, like Matt said. I guess in the original script though, he did have it a little different, but it was too close to the Disney portrayal, so it got copyrighted. So that he had to like completely change the script around. Because I guess like his story was too close to the Disney stories. Which makes sense because I feel like if you were a kid after 1966, your idea of who Winnie the Pooh is the Disney Winnie the Pooh. It's definitely not the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's like that with most Disney properties. I feel like anything that got Disneyfied, that's what it is now. It's no longer whatever the original fairy tale was or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So then after Christopher Robin is, I guess, taken kidnapped, I thought he was killed because then we get another cool cartoon where it shows him being dragged down into a hole. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when Piglet and Pooh are dragging Christopher Robin, if you look at the top right corner of the animation, you see Owl and Rabbit staring down at the top of the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. I read that in like online and I was like, is that true? So like I went back and I rewinded it to see. Yeah, they're there. Pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Watching, waiting.
So I thought Christopher Robin was eaten here because they do show a body being like cooked on a fire. Oh, that wasn't him though. That was his fiance. She gets cooked.
Yep.
They eat her. She pops up a little later. But then we're taken out of the 100-acre woods and we're introduced to Maria, and she's having like a therapy session where she's talking to her therapist about something that happened to her at her old place and some trauma she's dealing with. And her therapist recommends, why don't you go away for a while, get away from everything, give yourself some time to relax, enjoy time with people you trust. So that's kind of like your classic, okay, a group of friends go to like a cabin in the woods kind of setup. So she's like, all right, cool. She agrees with her therapist. She meets with she gets a group of her girlfriends together and they go on this little trip. They go to the cabin that's near the 100-acre woods. One friend has this brilliant idea that they need to like all put their phones away so they can like disconnect. And then we're introduced to like the next killing, right? Where we have like a random friend who gets lost and can't find her way to the cabin. Like the scene just like shifts over to this chick like lost in the woods. And she just parks her car in the middle of the street and she's like, I'm just going to run into the woods and see if I find something. I thought the scene was pretty cool because like she's walking through the woods and she's like trying to get signal and she stops and just like looks to like her right and you see Pooh just like standing there staring at her and she's kind of like, what the fuck? And he just starts like full on sprinting after her. I was like, oh, that's pretty scary. Like this dude in this doofus fucking pool mask wearing like overalls and a red checkered shirt just starts sprinting after you. Like that'd be kind of scary. And she goes to
anybody sprinting at you full speed is kind of terrifying,
especially in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. Dude,
And then,
I mean, he's a certified track star, that guy.
dude, I mean, he is a bear.
Ah, that's true.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bears are like are hella fast.
Damn, he brought logic into this.
He did.
So the girl goes to like hide in this like random like it looks like a random like barn house. And then I saw the wood like she goes in and she's hiding behind the wood chipper. I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. Pooh catches her, rips her shirt off. He gets some tits, and I wrote down. I'm like, why did he do that? Did the director just want to see this girl's tits? Like that was mad unnecessary. Like he didn't need to take her shirt off at all for this. Like there's no context to this, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then Pooh kind of bashes her head against the wood chipper, and then throws her in the wood chipper.
Yep.
And then that friend dies. And I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you guys caught it, but like the group of friends never like worries like why she never showed up.
I think they asked. It's like a quick like the one sentence line of like, "Where's Tina?" And then that's pretty much it. Like she's
It's
never
like,
like
I don't know.
Like
Yeah.
no one
Oh, well.
calls her. Like fucking horrible ass friends driving out
Yeah.
to somewhere you never been before. You're not gonna like check up. Be like, hey, where you at? Dude, this was a beer a couple hours ago. I don't know.
if ever I disappear, I want at least 3 sentences asked about me, and that's it.
Bare
That's all you get.
minimum. At least a confirmation. Like someone just asks, "Where's Tina?" No one says, "I don't know," or should we call her? I don't know. Nothing. What'd you guys think of this kill?
I mean,
I
kind
feel
of
like
to
The kills are
backtrack.
the only
Just,
highlight.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's one of it's one of those movies. But to backtrack just a little bit, I don't know if you dudes caught the audio clip, about the disappearances that were happening in the woods.
Oh yeah, I forgot to cover
It's
that
like-
when they're going through the credits.
Yeah, like it's a news. What do you call it? A news story or whatever.
Yeah, like people have
Why would you
noticed.
go to those woods if people
I
have
don't
been
know.
disappearing? Like,
I mean, that's a good point. Probably they got a sweet deal on the Airbnb.
true. It's like that guy that crisis vacationer. I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys seen
Yeah, I've seen that guy.
Yeah.
Going
No.
vacations after something crazy's happened. Like
Yeah.
there's an earthquake or like they were bombed or something because you get tickets for like hella cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's pretty wild. But it's like everyone I knew a gang of people who like when COVID first started happening, they started going to like Hawaii and shit because like nobody was traveling. So like everything was dirt cheap because planes had a bunch of fuel and shit. They needed people to go. They gotta keep the machine going.
Yeah.
And then I don't understand. I don't know if you guys saw this because it doesn't really come into play, but like, so like one of the girls are a couple, and like they're arguing, like they're like in some I don't know, like like they're in a rough patch, and like that's their only scene up until like when they die. I was like, why did they like? There was like an attempt to do some character development. Like I already got this couple, like they're coming to this like trip over there and try to like reconnect, get that spark going again. But then it doesn't go
Purpose?
anywhere. Yeah. There's because there's the couple girls. Then there's like the nerdy friend who's like really trying to like help her friend get over. I don't know if she's nerdy. She just has glasses, but I don't know. She comes off kind of nerdy. And then Then there's like the slutty hot friend with like all the tattoos who's just trying to like have a good time and like is very like antagonistic to the nerdy girl. That's the group. That's the group that made it to the cabin. The group that didn't check in on the other girl.
On their friend.
Yeah.
The
So then we find
terrible friends.
yeah, the terrible friends. And we find out what happened to Maria. So I guess like she had like a stalker, right? Who was like creeping on her at her house and like broke into her house and like tried to like undress her and stuff.
Yeah. That what was the whole point of that story?
I don't know, because like I thought go ahead, man. I mean it was what got them to the cabin, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was just mainly used for them just to get out to the cabin. I also thought that it was gonna set up like one of those like final girl stories where it's like this woman who's been like continually terrorized, and finally she takes a stand and kind of flips the script kind of thing. I thought that was why he put it in there. But like everything else in this movie, there's just specific scenes like why did you do this? Like who is this movie made for? I think it was just made for him. I do think that he just wanted to see that girl's boobs, and that was why he did it.
Because that made no sense.
Yeah, there wasn't a reason for him to actually do that. Pooh didn't need to do that. Pooh could have just chucked her in there with clothes on, and it would have had the same result.
It made no sense.
Yeah,
it's funny too, because I thought for sure that like the slutty like hot friend was gonna be the one that was gonna get killed with like her tits out, because there's always somebody dies with their tits out in these type of movies.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. I was like,
Nope.
He's like, I just want to see this chick's tits in particular.
It was this one specific chick. Yeah. Also, I will not travel somewhere unless I look up like the town, what's going on in that town. Is it safe? I'll never book a hotel in a place where there's news reports about missing people. That's just careless. That is some careless friend making decision type shit. That's the stuff that gets people killed. I will never do that to this group.
That's funny. I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but when I do travel within the state, sometimes I'm like, where am I staying? What's the neighborhood index on this Airbnb? Like, all right, looks all right. We should be fine. All right, and then we get back into Christopher Robin, and we learn that he wasn't killed. That Pooh had like strung him up, and he's torturing him. And the one thing I wrote down, because he like powers his generator by bicycling, I'm like, fuck yeah, sustainable ass Winnie the Pooh. Let's go. Makes his own power. It's just bear power. He just starts pedaling, and it just starts up and doesn't have to pedal again.
He's
the most efficient generator ever.
He's an animal. He cares about his environment.
It's interesting
He's
that
green.
he was able to like think of that, of like, how can I create sustainable power? But he can't figure out how to fucking hunt to like get any other type of food other than people.
It's because Christopher Robin was out here bringing them like candies and shit. He's like, I don't want this deer meat. I want some biscuits. I mean, they call cookies over there, right?
They wanted Eeyore.
Yeah, poor Eeyore.
Yeah.
Poor Eeyore always gets fucked over in this.
I know, that's fucked up.
Just because he's a sad boy. Well, he does have like a nail stuck in his ass like the whole time.
What is Eeyore?
Like, the donkey.
He's a donkey.
Oh.
Eeyore's a donkey. Piglet's a pig. Tigger's a tiger. The Pooh's a bear.
Owl's an owl.
An owl. And then Bunny's a rabbit.
They should have eaten Piglet. Piglet probably would have tasted the best.
I think they ate Eeyore because he's a sad boy, so he probably kind of wanted to go anyways.
Oh, he sacrificed himself?
Probably. I think literally any of them except for Eeyore and Pooh are actual like meat that people eat on their regs.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that eat owl, but I'm sure it just tastes like any other bird.
How many people have eaten bear?
None. Probably. I don't know any country folk. But even then, like carnivorous meat's like not very good. It's really tough.
I wonder if anyone has ever eaten bear.
Oh,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Send
for
us an
sure.
email if you have. Let us know what bear tastes like. Is it gamey? Is it
No,
not?
you know, I might take it back because I've eaten alligator before and that was good.
Well, I know
Hmm.
raccoons are the closest relative to bears. So
Is that
if
true? That's wild.
Raccoons?
yeah,
They do kinda look like little
look at the
bears.
way raccoons run and bears. They run the same. They're like from the same what do you call it?
Genius?
Genus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool. They're like little mini trash bears.
So
You know this movie suck because our tangents are just like all over the place.
Yeah. Sorry.
no, but like I guess what I was getting to is like if you've eaten raccoon, then you probably it's gonna be close to like eating bear.
Oh, probably.
And
Oh, well, and
people
bears
do
are
eat raccoon.
omnivores. They probably taste all right.
Yeah. Make a nice bear stew.
Mm,
Little
Ooh.
bear steaks.
some
Ooh.
ragu a la bear.
All right, let's get back into it.
I forgot where we were.
We're talking about Pooh and his bike powered generator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's
green.
sustainable.
The
And then-
green machine.
And
Yeah.
then Christopher Robin's all strung up, and he's like, "This is like I think the strangely enough the only character in this movie that gets like any form of character development is Winnie the Pooh."
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
Christopher Robin's like talking to him, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Pooh. Like we used to be friends. Like I never meant to hurt you. Like why are we doing this? Like remember who you are. This isn't who you are. I'm sorry this happened to you." And Pooh like he like gets sad and he starts like thinking about it. Like he's
He
like
looks in a
fighting.
mirror.
Yeah, he's like fighting with the fact that he's become this like monster. And then he just like rages and is like, fuck that. And just like punches something. And then just starts whipping Christopher Robin. Was he whipping him with Eeyore's tail?
Yeah, he whips him with Eeyore's tail.
I thought that
Yeah.
was cool. I was like, is that Eeyore's
Yeah.
tail? That's fucking gnarly, dude. What the fuck? Yeah, he fucks him up.
Yeah.
He fucks him
Would-
up bad.
Would that realistic? Can that really happen? Can you take off the tail of something and it'll like not rot and it'll
Well,
become?
If you dry it out in the sun.
Yours tail wasn't ever really a tail.
Yeah, it's his
was
tail.
like-
He loses his tail. That's why he's sad. So to make it up for him, they like pin a tail on the donkey.
Yeah.
As I said, he has a nail in his ass the whole time. It's like fucked up.
Wow. You know, I had never caught that as a kid. That wasn't. I just
My
thought.
sister was a huge Winnie the Pooh fan. She was
Oh.
like up until like she was like 10. She loved Winnie the Pooh.
Damn.
So I saw a lot of Winnie the Pooh growing up.
You know the Pooh lore.
Yeah. Take us through it.
I forgot it, dude. I had to make room for other shit.
For Lord of the Rings lore.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings lore is getting deep in the Silmarillion. So this scene I liked. I thought this scene was cool. It like gave actual character development. I'm gonna talk about it later. How I feel like they could have easily like made this movie like a lot better. But I digress. After that, we get the little development between Robin and Pooh. They have their little like talk. One of them talks, and then you find out that's where you see Mary's body, and she's like charred to the bone, and it's like, oh shit, they just ate all her flesh off her bones. She's like a skeleton with hair. And I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And they just leave her there, like right in front of Christopher Robin, and just like stare at her the whole time while he's getting like tortured. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's fucked up. And then they shower him in is it in her blood or is it supposed to be honey?
I think it's blood and honey.
Is it blood and honey?
Yeah, bro. Winnie the Pooh, blood and honey.
That's so funny too. Like I was thinking about that when they're like, we starved. I'm like, you got a gang of honey, bro, for someone who's out here like fucking not eating anything. I don't know if you can survive off just honey, but they had a gang of honey. Like he just had jars of honey all over the place.
Yeah, everywhere. I feel like not in every scene, but in a lot of scenes, he just has honey like on deck, ready to go. And there's always bees around him too. Like-
oh, that was a pretty cool
Yeah, like
aspect.
he just has bees following him, and there's just honey always in his pockets, just ready.
But can we
Pocket
see
honey?
them? Because the bees come into play like a couple times.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I didn't notice them until like you're supposed to notice them. But are they around him in every scene, or is it just those two scenes where he like commands them?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
I think they're only in those two scenes. I don't
Yeah.
think they're constantly around him. Like he's just walking around with the swarm all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then-
I did wish that they gave a little bit more character development, at least to like Christopher Robin in that scene too, or like something. There could have been more. I think there was an attempt with Pooh to develop it or to show that he could potentially go through some type of development, and that's why he does the thing when he like looks in a mirror, and then you said he punches something. I wanted more. I wanted more from that. I think that would have made it. That would have elevated the movie experience a little bit more. But they didn't do it. It was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I
in that
agree. I
moment.
feel like that was the only they had something with that.
Yeah, they
Like-
could have pushed it a little bit more.
Well, because I'm gonna come back to it now. But the animation scene, right, opens up about like the fractured relationship between Winnie the Pooh and his friends and Christopher Robin. And
Yeah.
it's like trying to set up like, okay, this is like what turned them into monsters. And instead of building upon that, they add like this like, typical, group of damsels in distress story in like in a slasher movie you've seen a million times. As
Yeah.
opposed to like telling a story with using the Winnie the Pooh characters, which I feel like would have been a better idea.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that a little later, I think, in detail, because I have some thoughts. But then we see the hot tub chick who I called out was going to be the first one to die. I was like, once I saw her, I'm like, oh, that chick's going to die first out of these group of friends. The hot chick always dies first. She gets her phone. She's in the hot tub, taking like little Instagram pics. And then
There's
we
a-
see, go ahead.
There's a scene of her at some point in time. I forget when it happens, but there's a scene of her in the bedroom taking selfies, and she's like,
that's right.
and she's like posting them up, and then there's no other. It's just a scene of her just on a bed, just taking selfies of herself, and then that's it. Like that's all we get of her. That's all the info that you know. You know that she just takes selfies of
yeah.
herself.
I wrote that in after the.
Who else would you take selfies of?
well, I mean, like, all right, yeah, but that's like the only piece of info that we get about her is that she just takes
She's
selfies.
vain.
Yeah,
But like, it's so unnecessary. Like, I wrote this down. I was like, why is the hot chick just dancing in her bra and panties, taking selfies?
Selfies.
Like, I get the character development of her is supposed to be like she's vain, but it's like we learned that literally in her introduction. Like, she like scoffs at giving up her phone. She's constantly like, oh, we're gonna tear it up, type of like we're gonna party. Like, okay, we understand what this character is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think this is another scene where the director's like, hey, that chick's hot. I want to see her. I want to
Yeah.
see her get down. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing, fucking Reese. And then I thought her death was one of the cooler ones in the movie, but I'll get to it. I thought it was fucking dumb. Like, she sees Pooh, like she catches Pooh like staring at her like through her phone, right, when she's taking the selfie, and she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, all like, who the fuck's there? Like, all mad. And then she's like, whatever. Like, dude, what? Like, no, like, go inside. Like, there's like a creepy dude like watching you, and you just learned that your friend's being stalked by some like crazy dude, and you're just gonna be like, that's chill. I'm just gonna hang out here. This is hot tub time. She's like, what'd you
Like-
say? I'm not letting you ruin my vacation. I was like, okay.
it's like the 5-second rule. Like, as long as you blow it off within like a certain amount of time, you're safe.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. She was not the brightest bulb.
Definitely. None of them are. And then so I like her death. Is this where I forget how she gets knocked down? I remember she dies by Pooh fucking slowly driving over her head with the beamer.
Mhm.
But how does she get to the driveway? Does Piglet get her with the chains?
Nah,
Yeah.
he
Doesn't
doesn't. He comes up behind her with a cloth, and he's like,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
smell this
yeah.
cloth.
right. That's right.
Well, he
He's
doesn't
like,
say it, but he like cloths her, and then she passes out. What's it called?
Yeah.
And they have
Uh,
access to chemicals.
what is that chemical called?
Um, I don't know, whatever it is though, it knocks people out. And
Google it. Get on a list.
and they could get on a list. I can't.
Chloroform. Got it.
Chloroform. Yeah.
Chloroform.
Chloroform's there, and then
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. While she's in the hot tub, literally, he just walks up and right behind her where she saw him the first time, and she just chloroforms her. And then he slowly, when he rolls over her head and crushes her skull, I was like, damn, that was a brutal ass death.
Yeah, for no reason.
And then he just starts like curb stomping her head, even though like it's already smashed. I was like,
Mhm.
damn, this is fucking brutal.
And
then
she screams, and I think all the friends
Yeah, all
hear
the
her
friends
scream.
hear her. They're like, "What was
Yeah.
that?" And they're like, "Why is this door open?" And they run outside and they see her dad. They're like, "What happened? Oh my god!"
That they set up that kill. Like that was a whole ass setup by Pooh and
Pooh and
Piglet.
Piglet.
Yeah.
Like,
that one
knock
was
her out.
calculated.
Put her in the driveway, find the keys to the car, get in the car. Who automatically knows how to drive is pretty
Fast and
crazy.
Furious.
Bro, he can drive, he knows how to set up sustainable energy, and he still can't fucking hunt.
He controls bees.
And he controls bees, and he can't figure out how to drive through a fucking drive-through to go get some McDonald's or like order Postmates.
Who's a tech bro, dude? He's not a nature boy. He's a 21st century man, that guy.
Yeah, this movie.
And then this is where they're like, "Oh shit!" They see her dad and they run back inside. And then this is where you see the bees for the first time. And I just wrote down, "Not the bees."
Not the bees.
And then, but then I also wrote like, "What the fuck? When did Winnie the Pooh get the ability to control bees? Like, when did that happen?" I'm like, "All right, whatever, I guess."
It's one of his mutant abilities.
And then the girl's like, "All right, I got a gun." And then she's like, "I don't remember where I put my gun." Like, what do you mean you don't remember where you put your gun? Like, what?
You don't ever just put a gun somewhere and forget about it?
I mean, not really. I feel like if you brought it very specifically for defense, right? Because you're afraid that something's gonna happen, you would know where it is. I would think.
Yeah, especially if you're not like in your own house.
Yeah. Exactly. Put it under your pillow, on your
Like,
fucking nightstand.
It is a
Go to
pretty
your
sick
room,
ass gun
check your
too.
luggage.
It's
Yeah.
like an
It's
upgraded
a
Magnum.
Magnum.
Yeah,
I was like, damn, that's a lot of firepower that chick brought.
fucking Rick Grimes.
And then this is where typical stupid slasher decisions are made. Like they run and they're hiding upstairs, and Pooh's like right in the middle of the room, like in direct line of sight from them, maybe 6 feet away. Like there's no way you're missing that shot. And like I'm like, why didn't you just shoot him? She could have easily just shot him right there. That would have been a 2-tap to the dome. That would have been the end of Pooh. But alas, they don't.
Yeah, definitely had because this movie in Eraserhead had a lot of questions throughout, but I feel like the questions that this movie kind of brought up were more like why are not like what is going on in this movie or like what is the director trying to tell us, or just more like why the fuck are these people so stupid?
Yeah.
Why are they doing what they're doing?
Yeah.
Definitely. And then I like how the all Piglet rolls through because Pooh's chasing the nerdy chick. I forget I didn't get any of their names. The nerdy chick and Maria. I know Maria's name, the main girl.
Mhm.
And they're hiding from him. And then the couple, they take off and they end up in like the pool area, and Piglet goes after them.
Mm-hmm.
Piglet looks pretty menacing with this like sledgehammer, which he never uses.
And chain.
And he has a chain, and then the girl like one gets like knocked out, right? And then Piglet's gonna kill her with the sledgehammer, and then the other girl just starts yelling at him. So he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll kill you instead." And then she just like starts running in the pool as opposed to swimming, and then Piglet just starts to like whip her with the chain.
With the chain.
I wrote in my notes, Piglet just starts going fishing. He just starts whipping the water. I was like, what the fuck is this dumbass doing? And then you could see that they're a fake chain because the chain starts floating on the water. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah, I wrote that in my notes too. The chain floats.
It doesn't even go underwater. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he jumps in and it's like the world's slowest chase. Because he's just walking her like super slow. And she's like, looks like she's running in slow motion because she's in water. And then he just fucking bashes her head in with the sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
This
Silly.
whole scene was like, I don't know. Like, I like the first couple deaths. I was like, oh, these are pretty creative. And they're like brutal. But I'm like, oh, do you expect that in like a slash movie? This one, I was just like, that was fucking dumb.
Yeah.
This one didn't make no sense.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know.
a silly death.
What'd you guys think of it? What'd you think of Piglet going fishing and their whole like escape from the house?
I was thinking of Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park when he says that your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Should he have done these things? Should this movie have been made in this way? I mean, well, damn, that's too much trash talking. No, this movie was fun. I think it was a ride.
Saying something and backtracking immediately.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to anger too many people. But
That's fine.
I don't know.
People can hate listen.
The decisions that were made in this were very interesting. I don't know why he chose to do that. The characters, I think he just put them in there just to die. Because I mean, you don't really get attached to any of these characters. There's like real minimal character development, no real reason to like actually care other than Christopher Robin. But I think the only reason why you care about Christopher Robin is because he is Christopher Robin. Like
Yeah.
when you think of Pooh, it's like Pooh and Christopher Robin. So all these other people are just hella expendable, and they just wanted to murder them in the most ridiculous ways ever. I think this pool scene was probably one of the dumber deaths. Like other people die in this movie for better stuff or like in better ways. I think the pool scene was probably the like goofiest murder, and I don't think it needed to happen. I think they could have done it some other way. You can also go really fast in a pool if you just swim
That's
instead
what
of
I'm
like
saying.
walk.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
Why didn't you swim? That is like the world standard for traversing in water.
the pool is it was like a good sized pool too. Like all she had to do was swim to
It
the
was
other
a lap
side.
pool.
It was a lap pool. Yeah,
Get
it was
out,
literally just
and then-
to swim in.
Yeah,
like to do laps in. Like,
yeah. She could have escaped, but she didn't. I think she wanted to sacrifice herself.
We didn't touch on this, but holy fuck, was that a nice house or what?
It's another
Yeah.
one of those. These places are way better than where we live currently.
On this edition of Places I'll Never Be Afford to Live in.
the cabin
Please.
in the 100-acre woods.
Yep.
No, this whole death was fucking silly, man. I don't understand the whole switch from sledgehammer to chain and then back to sledgehammer.
Distance, bro.
He just kept pushing Y on his controller, dude. What do you mean? Just spamming Y. It's on a cooldown.
Really though. Yeah, I don't know. Like she could have just swam to the other end as soon as she jumped into the pool, or
Like,
as soon as
immediately hopped
Piglet
out.
jumped in, you swim to the other side and hop out. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I take it back. I did write it. I did write her name down. Her name was Zoe. That's the chick who got her face exploded. And her
Yes.
girlfriend's name is Robin.
Robin.
Another Robin.
Oh yeah, huh?
Hmm.
This guy creative. So then she gets her
Genius.
fucking head
Wait, I thought-
exploded.
I thought it's Alice.
Is she Alice?
Yeah,
I thought Alice was the nerdy chick.
I think that's Alice. Damn.
I don't know. You know what? I'm just gonna refer to them as I've been referring them. Not even important. They literally get zero character development for any of these people.
Yeah.
So, Robin, the other half of the couple, she's taken by Piglet and Pooh, and they just kind of dip. They're like, "All right, well, we got one of you. We'll be back." So they take Robin. She's taken. She's like locked. They find her. They like chain her up in the forest, right?
Hmm.
No. Yeah. Or is she chained up by Christopher Robin?
No, she's chained up opposite of Christopher Robin. They find Christopher
Another
Robin
lady's chained
first.
up in the forest.
Yeah. So they take her. Another lady's chained up in the forest, and they also find Christopher Robin as well.
Yeah, and they untie him, and I wrote down like they untie him so easily, like they don't need to find a key or nothing. Like they seem like he could have broken out of that. Like they just slipped his wrists out like real quick.
He's been tortured this whole time.
I guess that's true. He's probably weak, but
Before they find him, that scene where Pooh is just eating the honey, or he's just putting the honey all over his face. He's not even really eating it. He's just like putting it on his lips.
he's like
and on his
exfoliating and
cheeks.
shit. About to do a little honey mask.
Yeah. Well, if you do look at his skin, Pooh's skin does look really smooth. So it's
And
probably
that
the
is
honey.
That's the
smooth.
trick.
It
Mhm.
is smooth. It's the honey and blood.
Yep.
Pooh is just, I mean, he's environmentally conscious. He knows how to drive cars. He exfoliates.
He only
Really,
exfoliates with organic materials.
Mhm.
Self-care, man. Like, dude,
Self-care,
about
dude.
self-care.
How are you
But
gonna
he's-
take care? How can you take care of someone else if you don't take care of yourself?
He still can fucking hunt.
Oh my
Figure out a
God.
way to get food.
He doesn't hunt other animals, dude. He's not it's not
Well-
right.
But they killed Eeyore.
It's just we're gonna keep trying to make sense of this movie. But, it's just,
Oh, we forgot to mention this. Like, I don't know if it matters now, but like at the beginning of the movie when the girl Maria's driving out to the cabin, they stop at that like auto body
oh
shop
yeah,
because we meet like a couple there and like a mechanic, and he's like, "Oh, I don't have gas." Like, go down the street, and then the couple that the lady of that couple, she's the one that's tied up in the woods that they run into after they rescue Robin, right?
Mhm.
That lady's a badass because they like untie her, and she's like, "Where are they? Fuck that! I'm gonna get my revenge." And she like takes Maria's gun and she's like, "I'm gonna go hunting." And then the gun only has one bullet. What was that all about?
That's all you get, bro. One shot. One opportunity.
shot? Like, I mean, no shit. I mean, she misses.
And then it stops working.
Yeah, it just jams immediately. But
Mhm.
it's a revolver, so like it would just like chamber to the next one.
yeah.
It's not like a Glock. It's not like it got jammed in the barrel or anything, but she was down. She was like the only character in this movie with balls. She
Yeah.
gets
Well,
she gets
in-
wrecked though.
I think the one of the only women that wants to fight back. The later on, there's like a group of men who do.
Oh yeah.
But she's the only woman who like tries to battle back.
And then
but she
Piglet just
fails.
fucking eats her face.
Yeah. Well, technically, she thought it was going to be a 1v1, and then Pooh comes up behind her, and what is it? Doesn't he like slam her down to the ground?
Yeah.
And then Pooh, and then Piglet eats her face.
And
It was
then
an
Alice,
unfair battle.
And then wait, Alice or is it
Wait.
Robin? Damn, I got
Wait.
my names all fucked up.
What about that scene of Pooh just repeatedly slapping that one girl, just over and over and over again?
Oh, the one that they tied up?
Yeah, just smacking her around.
Yeah, he just
Oh,
starts beating her
the
up.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other part of the couple.
Hmm.
The other lesbian chick. Fuck, I gotta get these names right because I wrote her down as Robin, but then I look back at my notes and I have her as Alice. So I don't know.
I think Alice was the girl that died in the hot tub.
No, I think Alice is the
Oh, here we go.
girl who got kidnapped.
yeah, Alice is a kid. Then who
Oh.
is Robin?
Christopher.
Robin. I don't see any Robin
Oh,
in the.
that's who it is. It's Christopher Robin. Because when they find him, he's all fucked up. Alice is the girl that gets kidnapped.
Okay. Nice.
Talking about this
We got
mysterious, this extra Robin.
I didn't
Just
do
changing his
my
name altogether.
I didn't do my spew for first time listeners, but we are not professionals. Oh my god.
This
And then-
fucking movie.
And then I forget how they do it. I don't know if you guys remember, but they capture Piglet. How did they knock him out?
Probably chloroform.
It shows that they hit him with the sledgehammer or something.
No,
Because he
yeah, they hit him with the I'm trying to see. It's Alice. So when they release Alice as well, they release Christopher, the woman from the first
I don't think we even
auto
get her
body
name.
shop, and then they also release Alice, and Alice she picks up the sledgehammer and then she whacks Piglet in the face because Piglet's like, I think he's eating the face
Yeah,
of the other woman
he's
who's on
eating
the
that
ground.
lady, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so she uses this opportunity to whack Piglet in the head. But
That
then
was
Pooh
cool
comes back.
because then she ties him up and she starts beating the fuck out of him with the chain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then she starts bashing on him with the sledgehammer too, no?
Yeah. So I think Pooh died. I mean
Piglet?
Piglet. I think Piglet died in this moment.
Well, we don't see his dead body. Because spoiler alert, he's in the sequel.
Oh shit.
Well,
But-
if you never see the body, then they never
you
die.
assume they're alive. And then Pooh comes back and he like grabs her and like sticks her mouth through a machete.
Yeah, kind of like Halloween style, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
picks her up and then
Yep.
impales her onto
Tree?
what is it, like a tree? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a brutal death. That was a good one.
Yeah,
And
the deaths in this movie were
The deaths are good.
yeah, they were cool.
Except for the pool one. That one sucked. But the other ones are good.
That was the best one.
And then that's when they're escaping it. Now it's Maria by herself. Oh, and Maria and the
No.
nerdy chick.
Yeah. Jessica.
And they
Jessica.
Jessica, there we go. And then they get to the main road and they come across a truck and it's the mechanic and his buddies.
Mhm.
And did you notice that everyone in this movie has like a British accent because they're all British except for the mechanic?
Hmm.
He has an American accent.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have
Interesting.
a British accent at all.
He just transplanted.
It's just yeah.
They moved over there, opened a
Yeah.
mechanic shop.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Why
And
do they
then,
all have long hair?
His name's Logan because I wrote him as Logan's crew. And I like how they hop in his car and they start like looking for his car keys, and I'm like, but the dash is all lit up and like the lights are on. The keys should be in the ignition. I don't think you can do that without the keys being in the ignition.
Modern cars stay lit.
Dick, that
No,
was
that
like
was an old.
that was like an old Chevy. That was an old ass car.
It's fucking dude.
The only
You know
thing
what?
electric in that car is the fucking battery.
Who still
I like-
can't figure out how to get food, so this car is gonna stay lit, even though the keys aren't gonna be in there.
I like how they all confront Winnie the Pooh and they're like, "Who's this fucking freak?" And they're like, "We live in you picking on them girls." He's like a country boy. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Mhm.
And like Pooh's just kind of like just like staring at him like he's like getting ready, like I'm about to fuck these dudes up.
Is this when we see his like eyes, his stare?
Who
'Cause
rage?
there's a scene. I forgot when in the movie it happens, but it just shows his face and like the yellows of his eyes.
Oh, that's after his one-time character development of when Christopher Robin is
Oh.
telling him, "Hey Pooh, please come back." And then I think Pooh stares in the mirror, and then when he switches into full rage Pooh, that's when that happens.
Oh,
But yeah, this one scene reminded me of in what is it, Halloween Ends or Halloween Kills, when Michael Myers takes on the group of firefighters.
I haven't seen that one.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. Like Pooh takes on like a full group of men,
It's a boss
just-
battle scene.
dominates everybody. Yeah.
Some similarities between Pooh and Michael Myers, definitely.
Mhm.
Like when
Yeah,
he
you
was
can- you
running
can
and
see some
slashing.
inspiration.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's true. Huh? I wonder if he was inspired.
Who
And I like
saw
how-
Michael Myers and took inspiration from that movie?
Well, I wonder if Reese like copied like
Oh.
Michael Myers mannerisms. And I like how they all get out and like Logan has a crowbar, one of his homies has a bat. Then one guy just has like a bottle.
Any weapon, bro.
Yeah.
And then the fight was pretty cool. They just start beating the fuck out of him. And they're like, fuck yeah, they're getting all hype. And then Pooh when he slashed that I like how he does his like bear attack and he just fucking claws that dude in the face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he fucking chops off the other dude's his
Arm.
head, right?
I think his
arm?
hand. Yeah.
Oh, he chops
Arm.
off a guy's arm,
And then
doesn't he?
stomped on his head.
He stomped on his head. That's right. And then the bees get the other guy who starts running away.
Mhm.
And that's when we see his full control of the power of the bees.
Bee attack.
Eco friendly. Friend of the bees, dude. Oh, that's how he gets his honey because he has a fucking bee army.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah,
still
look.
can't figure out how to hunt animals.
And
No.
then Logan's crew gets absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole scene just showed how like Pooh is still a bear. He's still strong as fuck. He's
Yeah, this is
still
where his bear power
bear.
comes out.
Yeah.
He powers up.
There is one cool scene. I think the guy with the bottle like tries to break the bottle over Pooh's head, and this is after all the other people have been kind of beating up on Pooh, and Pooh turns around, and the scene is filmed from behind the head of the guy with the bottle, and it's basically looking upwards at Pooh, and Pooh is like towering over this guy. Like it's a scene
Yeah, he
where
looks
Yeah.
huge.
Pooh
I
looks
noticed that. I was like, he looks
superimposing.
huge.
Yeah, he looks like this huge, humongous like monster. I thought that was to me that was a really cool scene just because the way it was framed. That I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, I wrote
Um,
down in my notes. I'm like, is that how big we're supposed to think that he is? Like, he's like the size of an actual bear
Yeah,
because he looked massive compared to those dudes. Like
They
if you were
look
standing in
humongous.
front of a grizzly or something.
yeah.
Mhm.
But then he looks like normal.
Yeah,
Throughout
but
the
throughout
movie.
the movie.
Yeah, it was literally this one scene that just makes him look like this like towering fucking giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things from this. And then Pooh just murders everybody because he's
Yeah,
Pooh.
that scene was cool. I'm not really doing it justice, but the like that little fight was dope when he just like turns it on and just starts wrecking everyone. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is like a cool scene.
Yeah,
The beginning of this movie and like the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of this movie, I thought were like the best parts.
Yeah.
Because then when Christopher Robin comes out of nowhere and just smashes into him with the car, I was like, oh shit. I had a feeling I'm like, Christopher Robin's gonna like do some hero shit at some point. Because
Mhm.
like he tells them when they try to rescue him, because he's like all fucked up. He's like, no, I don't have the strength. Just like go on without me. I'll find a way out. And he comes in out of nowhere. And that was cool and just smashes them in between the truck and the like SUV he was driving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we did it. And he's like talking to the girls, and then Pooh just like wakes up like fucking Undertaker style. And just like pushes, like bronze strength pushes the trucks that were pinning him like off of him. I was like, oh fuck, this dude's sucking on another level right now.
Yep.
That's when I think we start seeing that he's like, oh, this dude he's like a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't think if you hit a bear with a car that would kill it necessarily.
Maybe like a big rig.
Maybe like a big rig, or if you're going like really fast.
Yeah. But like a normal, like a Prius, you'd probably lose versus a bear.
I also learned random fact, but if you run over a bear and it dies in like Virginia, you'll go to jail because they're like a protected species over there.
How are you
That's
supposed to
Get away
avoid
with
hitting
it?
a bear?
I don't
Like-
know because they're huge. I don't know how you would do that. I'm like, what the
Like,
fuck?
Yeah.
Especially if it just can't come running out of the
Coming
woods,
out
you
of
know?
the woods? I don't know.
You
dude.
just go to jail for an accident? I mean,
Yeah,
I
pretty
guess.
much.
You can. Never mind. I take back what I said.
That does happen. People go to jail for accidents
It's all the
all
time.
the time.
Oh, man.
And then Pooh like fucking he pushes pushes them apart, and they try to like hop back in the car to get away, and Pooh just throws fucking Jessica's head onto the windshield, and like Maria's first instinct is to like turn on the window wipers. She
Gotta
just
wipe it off, dude.
She's blood all over the place. I'm like, what is she doing? That's fucking, I don't know. It was fucking dumb. And then Pooh rips him out of the car, and then Christopher Robin's like, he has a knife to Maria's throat, and Christopher Robin's like begging like him not to kill her. And like he thinks about it, he's like, take me, I'm the one you want. Let her go. Just take me. Like, I'll stay with you guys forever. Like, I'm sorry. Like, just let her go. And this is this the first or the second time he speaks?
First.
Because he says you left, right? And then he
Mhm.
slits her throat. Did he kill
Yeah.
Christopher Robin, or did he leave him? He let him go.
He lets him go, and he will. I think when he slits her throat, he releases her, and Christopher Robin catches her, and he's like crying, and they're trying to like console each other. Like they give Maria this like really big send off. And then Christopher Robin backs up, and then Pooh comes over and starts eating her,
Yeah, then it cuts, right?
and then it cuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the movie. That's the end of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
What a movie.
What a
What a
movie,
movie.
man. I don't think I think this is the fastest we've talked through a movie. Like, it was
I
an
think
hour and
this is a
half.
movie with the most tangents that we've had for sure.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. This movie was an hour and like 25 minutes,
Hmm.
and not a lot of stuff happens in that hour and 25 minutes. Like, it's a lot of empty scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I got some facts. I don't know if you guys got any facts.
It
Tell
is.
me your facts.
Hit us with those facts.
Tell us the
So-
truths.
This movie was another like low budget affair that like performed way over what it was supposed to. So
Hmm.
it was made for 50 grand, and it ended up making 5.2 million. I guess it was supposed to be like a 1 day showing,
Mhm.
and then it started picking up a lot of traction on like other websites about like, oh, this like guy's making like a slasher Winnie the Pooh movie, because it just went into like public domain. So I think I remember seeing, I don't know if it was like a gamer article, or maybe it was like IGN or something, but like a pretty known like video game. I think it might have been IGN, because they cover movies too. I'm not sure though. I don't want to misquote, but it was like one of those IGN gamer, Polygon, The Verge type articles that actually did a story on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey coming out about a slasher movie. So I was like, oh shit, this movie's gaining some kind of like popularity traction, and that made me want to watch it originally. I mean, I knew, I'm like, this movie's gonna be terrible. They're like, there's no way this movie's gonna be good. But hey, I gotta see it, right? It's like a car accident. You can't look away. But yeah, because it gained so much traction, I guess they shot the movie in 8 days, and the people that helped produce it were like, oh well, shit. We're gonna be able to get a wider theatrical release, so they gave them 2 days of reshoots, and that's where like most of the budget went to.
Hmm.
And I guess it's part of the Twisted Childhood universe. So you're gonna have Bambi the Reckoning, which is supposed to come out, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and Pinocchio Unstrung. So they're gonna make a whole universe of like Disney childhood properties, which would be interesting. I mean, as bad as this movie is, I'm kind of curious to watch the sequel, and I'll get into it during our reviews.
I'm interested to see the Avengers type movie that's gonna come out like
It's gonna be so
in like
interesting.
4 years. Like,
They do
all
like
these
a
characters.
Freddy versus Jason, where it's just Winnie the Pooh versus fucking Bambi.
Yeah.
Well, who's winning that one for sure? He's the fucking bear.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
An interesting thing is it's shot in Britain with a bunch of British actors, but where they filmed it is the actual woods, and I think it was Essex, or it might have been in Edinburgh, where the 100 Acre Woods is is based on.
Like based on the
What?
original stories.
Yeah, they actually shot in those wood.
East Sussex.
Is it East Sussex?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that they actually got the filming location. I wonder if it's like the US though, like if you have anything that's like on federal lands, it's like really cheap to access it because that's part of like the federal government's like deal with the public because it's part of like the public, it's like a public space, even though the federal government owns it, protected for the public. So like if you ever go to like it's like a really cool like hall or anything, and if it's on federal lands, you could usually get rented out for hella cheap.
Nice.
And one thing that's interesting though, so it's all British, the whole cast. But I guess the public domain in Europe is a little different than it is in the States. So this movie actually isn't able to be distributed yet because public domain on Winnie the Pooh doesn't happen until 2027.
Yeah.
So
So the English have no idea what's going on over here in the story.
I mean, I'm sure there's ways you can watch movies, that aren't like legal, but if they really wanted to watch it, but yeah. And I guess Tigger was supposed to be in this movie, but he resembled the Disney Tigger too much, so he got copyrighted out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie was not played in China and Macau because of, about Xi Jinping, how they make fun of him by saying he looks like Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, it does.
Yeah, but like, I don't understand why he sees that as a negative. Like, you play into that, dude. Winnie the Pooh is a beloved character, especially in Asia. Like, you bump that numbers up. That'll definitely help with public perception and popularity. That's what Japan does.
Yeah.
Hides all their atrocities behind Hello Kitty and anime.
God.
But yeah, so that were some of the interesting facts. I actually thought, this movie was the first in all of British film history to win a Golden Raspberry Award for worst film. First British movie to ever do that. And it is tied for most Golden Raspberries of all time with 5, with The Postman starring I'm drawing a blank, the guy from Yellowstone and
Kevin Costner.
Waterworld. Yeah, Costner. Kid Cost. So it won worst picture, worst director, worst screenplay, worst screen couple. That couple was terrible. They didn't even need to be a couple. Like, there was no point to that. Worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Clean slate, 5 awards. Mark it down, goated.
Yep.
Yeah, they swept the raspberries.
I mean, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get into our reviews?
Let's get it.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Let's go with you since this was going to be your first this was your first watch.
Okay. This movie was fucking terrible. There were parts about it that like I did enjoy. Like I kind of highlighted them when we were going through it. But it was like a poorly crafted movie, even with my expectations going in, with me knowing it was going to be bad. And like I said, it did have some moments. I don't want to go on like my little tangent now. We could probably discuss it.
Let's
after
go.
reviews.
Do it.
All right. So like, I think the movie had good nuggets. The way it set it up was cool. What I think they should have done is instead of making the girl cast part the main story and taking away from the Christopher Robin aspect, they should have opened with like that was like, you know how every slash movie has that first kill. Scream does it with Drew Barrymore. You have Jason doing it with like camp counselors before it gets shut down and then eventually gets reopened. So something like that, right? Freddy Krueger kills a random kid and then you get meet to the first cast. It should have been Pooh and Piglet killing the group that's like at an Airbnb thingamajig. But then like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie, and then it's built on Christopher Robin and Mary going back to the 100-acre woods, and Christopher Robin finding out that his friends have become these killers, and that becoming the main focal point of the movie, because that's the relationship with the characters. It's Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. Those are the people the audience cares about, because those are the people we already have an attachment to because we know these characters,
Mhm.
not these random people you give zero character development. Like, the character development's already there because you assume that some of your audience is familiar with Winnie the Pooh going into it. So you know there's a relationship there as opposed to a bunch of new characters. I think if they would have flipped it, it would have been a better movie.
To kind of touch on that though, if they would have went that route and it was only Christopher Robin and his fiance, like that doesn't really leave it open to like a lot of kill scenes because it's
Right,
just
but
only going to be those two.
so what you could do is so they're engaged, right? So you do like your engagement party. So it's them and like your groomsmen and your bridesmaids. You're going out to the 100-acre woods to, like, I don't know, like he wants to reconnect with his friends and let him know he's getting married type of deal. And it's important
Yeah.
for him to show Mary. Maybe his friends don't know because they'll think he's crazy, but he wants Mary to meet his friends. And like that kind of becomes, because then you could add
Yeah.
more people that way, because them being engaged is why he's taking her anyways. So you
True.
can kind of like expand on that. And that could have been, like, I don't know, a more interesting story than like what they ended up doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would have been a better way to like have any type of more character growth or kind of tie in a little bit more. I think it was just violent for violent's sake.
I mean, which is fine with the B movie slasher, right? Like
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
That's like
That's
we
what these
go
movies
in.
are.
Yeah, that's what we expect. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not expecting all of them to be like breaking like Halloween or like Nightmare on Elm Street or like Friday the 13th, you know, but you know, it can be a My Bloody Valentine or like a Last House on the Left type of affair, like good but not one of the greats. But the script was a fucking mess in this movie, and I think that's what kind of like drew me out. Like, I knew the acting was going to be bad. It's a B movie slasher, you know.
Yeah.
You're not always going to get. You're not going to get a young Johnny Depp getting sucked into a bed in these like type of movies, you know. Like, I don't think any of these people are gonna go on to be like A-list celebrities, but I don't know. Would I recommend it? Sure. I think it's like a fun like background movie at a Halloween party. You know, people are getting drunk, hanging out. You throw Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's a conversation starter. People look like, "What the fuck are we watching?" Like, "Oh, it's stupid," and they're like, "Oh, this movie's dumb. It's a terrible movie." Like that type of. It's an almost "it's so bad it's good" type movie, but I don't think it quite reaches that realm yet. So yeah, I would recommend it for a very particular scenario. But this isn't like a movie you like sit down and show people. Unless you're like a big horror buff and you just love B movies, like this is your shit. You're like, oh yeah, like I love these. Like I love these bad movies. Like this is my thing, which is cool. You know, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. But for me personally, I'd give it this is a D plus. I don't think it's deserving of a C minus. I liked Season of the Witch more than this movie, and I really didn't like that movie. So I don't know. It is out of the three. This is the third horror movie we've covered. This is by far the
Yeah.
worst one, in my opinion. What about you, Twan? Second watch through. What is what do you think about it? What's your review? If it's possible for the audience, how does it? What have you have given it the first time, and has that changed on the second viewing?
Damn, I don't know what I would grade it the first time around because the first time I was watching the movie, I was watching it purely out of curiosity. I big horror movie guy, love me my slashers. So it was a movie that I wanted to see when it first came out, when it first started making its rounds. And seeing it elevated definitely added to my overall enjoyment, I would say, for the movie. I don't want to say that my grade would have been better. I feel like I still would have given it the same grade the second time around. It's just it was way less enjoyable the second time around. because I knew how bad of a movie it was, and because I knew what I was getting myself into by watching this movie. Again, I think I was most excited for you to watch this movie, Dale, because you had never seen this movie. I think for someone that has never seen this movie before, and if you're interested in any way, shape, or form, definitely watch this movie. Just to say that you can watch it, that you've watched it. There's a lot of cool aspects to it. You know, I'm gonna say it again. The animation was really cool. We didn't really talk about who animated it.
Oh, I didn't even find that out. Do you guys have that?
But yeah, it was by Seb Cox.
Seb Cox. I wonder if that was
Yeah.
originally in the script or it was added after, because that was cool. They should have closed that on the animation. That would have been tight.
Yeah, the animation was it was a nice touch. Shout out to this guy. Apparently, he's like selling little figurines that look like drawings.
Oh, that's cool.
On Instagram. But yeah, I mean the death scenes were cool. Some of them were cool. It's one of those movies that's not taking itself seriously. Like it felt like a movie that was made in less than 10 days. It felt like it was made in 8 days from start to finish. Like, Winnie the Pooh's public domain now. Let's start fucking brainstorming. Day one, got a script written out. Just some horrible script with horrible lines. Like, made no sense. They're like, let's run with it. Let's try to get this out as fast as possible. It felt like that the whole movie, and it's kind of crazy because we just did El Mariachi, which is like a master class in creating a movie with a low budget. Like, these two movies are so different, but they're similar in the sense that they didn't take a lot to make, but you know, it's almost night and day as far as the type of movie that was, you know, produced in the end. I gave this movie a D. Terrible movie. I don't think it earned an F. I don't know what movie might earn an F. Maybe we'll get to that eventually.
I didn't point this out, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 3%, and IMDb has it at a 2.9. So I think we're being more than generous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, but then again, we're not critics per se.
True,
we're just
true.
Opinionated. Yeah, so it's a solid D for me. Don't think I'm going to be watching this movie again for the rest of my life. I think two times is enough.
So, yeah.
I definitely want to watch the sequel though. I want to see if they got a little better. I'm hoping. But yeah, D. This one gets a fat D.
Well, if Rotten Tomatoes is anything to go on, the sequel is a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's a significant jump up in quality. Like, I've seen some 50% Rotten Tomato movies that I'm like, that movie was cool.
Yeah.
So it could be pretty good. What about you? What about you, Mr. Seiya? It's also your second viewing. I don't know if you can do a comparative grading. If not, it's cool. But how does it? What would you grade it, and has it changed since the first time you saw
it? Like you guys, I also graded it a D. And even watching it the first time, even though I had taken an edible when I was watching it, it still wasn't like a fully enjoyable experience. So my grade didn't really change. It's still the same. And I think watching it the second time, Twan said it earlier, it felt like work. Like I was forcing myself to watch it the second time. Yeah, it was definitely a rough ride. I think it reminded me almost when I was a kid. I made a movie, like a zombie movie, for one of my classes in drama class.
that was in that movie.
Yeah, and that movie was fun, but there wasn't any I remember my teacher told me after, like, there's no development. It's just you just made this movie just to make it. And I was like, yeah, and I had fun doing it. And I think that was what Reese did with this movie. I think he just had fun doing it. It wasn't executed really well, and I hope the sequel, like I hope he learned a little bit, like took some feedback, and the sequel is like actually good. Maybe we'll cover that one day, and it could be like a Patreon video or like a Patreon audio that we can do. That would be really cool. But I think the idea itself of having like these classic stories as like horror, I think that idea is so dope. And there was some really cool stuff that was introduced into it that could have been like done better. I just think the execution was really bad. There was an attempt, and the attempt was just not good. In terms of recommending, maybe, I mean, yeah, if you're like a horror movie buff, yeah, I'm gonna recommend it. I think it's like one of those horror movies that it's just you watch just to say that you watched it. But like a normal person, I don't know if I would ever recommend this to them. And I don't even know if I would put it on as like a background movie at like a Halloween party, because it might just kill the vibe like immediately. I don't that's not this isn't one of those movies that I would proudly show to people. This is one of like a deep dark cut of like, yo, you want to watch some fucking some deep steaming D tier movie.
It reminds me of like when I would go to Fry's back in the day with like my dad, and you go to like the clearance like DVD section or VHS section, and it'd have like Killer Jack Frost on it or something, and it was like it'd be like a snowman with like icicle teeth, and it's just like, this movie looks fucking dumb. And I'm like, yeah, we don't watch those movies. This is stupid. I don't know why this is a waste of money. And I was like, oh, okay. It reminds me of that like that realm of like B movie.
Yeah. We should actually add Killer Jack Frost onto our list.
Oh wow. That would be, maybe we'll give it some time. Let's watch something a little bit more watchable for the next one.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that was our coverage of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. To wrap it up, we all gave it a D. Thank you guys for joining us this week for another exciting episode. Next week we'll be covering Akira, the anime monumental movie that kind of pushed forth anime in the United States. So hope to see you all there, giving us a listen. I have been your host, The Dale, followed by Mr. Saya.
Bye.
And Twan.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.
See y'all next week. Bye.